Hello, this is Father Rich. I'm in another corner of the living room at the Rectory of Our Lady of Peace for our next masterpiece. Here in front of one of the pieces of art that was here, an icon before I got here, and just that image of Jesus, Jesus Christ as kind of teacher. And so this is another series of paintings on the life of Christ. It's called The Life of Christ by Emil Nolde, and the paintings that were completed in 1912. It's a series of 9 paintings based on the life of Christ. It started as 3 separate paintings. They call it kind of an altarpiece, even though it wasn't for a church. None of his paintings was ever done for a church. But after seeing the way that these 3 paintings fit together in his studio and looked great, kind of complemented each other, he decided to expand it to 9 paintings that would kind of cover the breadth of Christ's life from his birth to his death, and the crucifixion being the central scene. He was a modern painter, so they kind of mention at the introduction that few religious paintings or even fewer religious painters among the artists emerged at the center of the art world at the turn of the 20th century. So there really weren't a lot of popular painters that had any kind of religious connection, but he was one of the few. And they say that he was born into a Protestant church family, whose parents were very faithful. He grew up hearing a lot of the biblical stories. That would become a focal point for some of his painting in his later in life. He actually explored some other occupations for several years. He was born in northern Germany, just not far from the Danish border, in the mid to late 1800s, and he finally found a job as a painting teacher, instructor, and so he kind of continued to pursue that, started doing paintings on the side. He actually did a series of postcards that was based off of, making kind of people out of the Swiss mountains that was very popular and got him some notoriety, but he chose not to kind of go fully into that, continued to teach, but then also create paintings. And so the life of Christ, again, never was put anywhere, but it certainly shows his spirituality and the faith that was behind his painting, even though he, had moments of struggle and certainly had stress in his life. They say he was doing the paintings while his wife was going through some serious illness, so he kind of brought that experience to the painting as well. In general, he was categorized in what would be considered the German expressionism trend in art history, although he would kind of hesitate at that distinction, and really a type of art that would more be looking to create an emotion than something literal. And so that was their kind of focus. They wanted to create images and work and colors that would evoke emotion out of the viewer, instead of just having literal objects or whatever. So there was a bit of an abstractness to it, but he never went full board into the abstractionism. He didn't like that. He, again, resisted even that. And again, the biblical religious figures ended up being a somewhat significant part. They say that between 1909 and 1951, he devoted 55 paintings to sacred or biblical themes. And of course, the life of Christ being the masterpiece, or the greatest of them. They talked about in his living through World War I and even into the World War II, he was kind of very nationalistic, and in that he kind of got caught up in the German movements of the day. He was hoping actually to be one of the country or national painters for Hitler and Nazism, sadly. But they actually said that Hitler put his work in the category of degenerate art. With an exhibit in Munich, and so they criticized him and said that his was an example of the decline of Western culture into barbarism. So his paintings were removed from museums throughout Germany, placed in storage. He was forbidden to practice as an artist during the reign of the Nazis. He still continued to paint on his own and kind of in hiding, but that was part of his experience. And then they say after the Second World War, when Nazism was defeated, he kind of was able to come back to publicly, be successful as an artist. But some of the some of the paintings that he did do of religious themes. 1909, The Last Supper. 1910, Christ Among the Children. 1910, Dance Around the Golden Calf from the Old Testament. 1926, Christ and the Adulteress. They kind of say this showed kind of a softer side with him, a gentler touch than some of the harshness of his earlier paintings, which again was kind of part of that modern influence. And then The Great Gardener, Finding God, the Father Looking Upon His Creation, he did in 1940, breathing life into his tender foliage. So they kind of say that he strongly identified with the sufferings of Christ, so that was why that imagery of Christ crucified was a strong one for him, kind of a mystical connection he drew upon during the difficult patches in his life. Kind of a visionary and a loner. He kind of had this unique ability to bring these wild violent colors together, but still represent stories that nurtured his faith. He did not set out to become a religious painter, but as he painted what interested him, biblical themes came to the fore. So a unique character in these masterpieces. Again, artist and masterpiece I was not aware of, so learned a lot with you today. So thanks for joining. Next time we'll do the poems by Gerard Manley Hopkins from 1918. And till then, have a great day. God bless.